Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to add a guest to your guest list. So first you're going to click the Add Guest button, which will pull up this panel to enter their contact details. So I'm going to add my friend Sarah. So I'm going to enter her name and email address. Now for the address section, if you are sending out physical invitations but don't know her address, don't worry, because if you are using the stationary plan on WEDSITES, you'll be able to send a digital save the date, which will ask your guests to enter their contact details, or rather update their contact details. So this would include the email address. So if this email address that I've given Sarah isn't her preferred email address, she'll be able to update that. And you can also ask for their physical address so you can prepare for your sending your physical invites. So just leave that blank if you don't know it, because we can always ask them for that information later. And scrolling down to the details section, you'll notice that we have an A-list and a B-list option. So your A-list is for those guests that you definitely will be inviting, so close family and friends. But the B-list option is there just in case you have a guest list that's getting a little bit out of control. So sometimes what happens with weddings is you have your friends and your partner has their friends, and that guest list might be big in itself, but when you have your family getting involved, that guest list sometimes does get a bit out of control. And whether it's due to budget restrictions, you simply just can't afford to invite all 300 guests that may be on your guest list, or your venue might have a maximum capacity, which is often the case. So if that does happen, you want to essentially have a A-list priority list and a B-list of people who you really want to invite, but you just may not be able to. So having an A-list will help you invite those A-list guests first. And once you get a couple people saying that unfortunately they won't be able to attend, that's when you can move on to your B-list and invite people. Now, word of advice, never let anyone know that they were on the B-list, because that's just gonna hurt some feelings and you don't want to burn any bridges. So definitely keep that to yourself. Don't let anyone find out. But for organizational purposes, this really does come in handy. Now scrolling down a bit further, we've got sides and groups. So sides are to keep track of people who are either on your side or your partner's side, or maybe they're a mutual friend. So if you want to use that, you can choose an option. So Sarah's a friend of mine, so I'm going to put her on my side. And groups come in handy when you are creating your seating charts. So if you are creating seating charts, we do have a feature inside of the platform, which I will dive into a little bit further, but guests often want to sit with people that they know. So that's what groups are for. Now, because Sarah is a friend of mine, I'm going to put her in Hannah's friends group. The age drop down here is to keep track of who is an adult, a child, and an infant. This comes in handy when you're working with your caterer and trying to figure out how many adult meals you're creating, how many children's meals you need. And for infants, oftentimes you don't need to worry about feeding them, but it's good to know how many infants you have just in case you need to organize babysitters or have hire a cot for them or something like that. So that option is there for you. Sarah is a friend. I'm going to keep her as an adult. And for the dietary field right here, I don't think anyone knows all of the dietary requirements of their friends. So this field here will be filled out by your guests when they come to RSVP through your website. So don't worry about filling that out. Now, this add note section is just for you to enter any information about that particular guest, whether you need to follow up with them or if they've shared some information with you that you want to keep track of and you don't want to lose. This is the perfect opportunity for you to enter that information. Moving on to households. Households are for grouping guests who live under the same roof together. So this is for your couples who live together or families who have children. You can keep all the kids and the parents all together so that when it comes RSVP time, anyone in that household can RSVP for everyone else. Now, let's say that Sarah has a partner and you know their name. You can click this Add Guest option right here and just fill out their name. If you don't know your guest's date's name, you can give them a +1. So when they RSVP on your website, they'll be able to enter that guest information. They'll see that they have a +1 and they'll be able to add that information. And once they submit the form, their guest name will appear in your guest list. So you don't need to chase them down and be like, hey, what's the name of your +1? That information will be automatically added into your guest list. So when you create your place cards, you'll have that information readily available for you. Now you can click to save to add more, so you can add your next guest from here, or you can save guests and you'll be taken to the screen and Sarah will be saved here.